Good afternoon. Looks like there's a lot of students today, and you can see I'm combining the regular and advanced sessions, so it'll be just me today. The first thing I would like to do is if you guys can please turn your cameras on, if you can, if you want to. So that'll be. I want to take a group picture. That's why. So with this, so we have been doing this for a long time, so and at least I get to see you guys a little bit. So, all right, I'm gonna wait for some more time and see if you guys can all turn your cameras on for maybe like 30 seconds. Or you know what, you can keep it on as well today. So, anybody else wanna get their cameras on? So I'm gonna wait a couple more minutes and then get the ball rolling. Okay. All right, here you go. I'm taking a picture, so let's see. Ready, everybody? Smile. Okay. All right. Now, if you want to keep your cameras on, that'll be fine. Actually, today is just fine. If you want to turn it off, it's your choice. Um, well, looks like everybody's turning it off. Okay. Well, today's the last day of the class. Uh, you know, a few things to cover, but before I continue, and this is why I wanted to your cameras on actually, is I want to get a feedback from this class. And I don't want to take too much time. I know it's a holiday a weekend and we have things to do, but I want to give the face-to-face students the last chance. I want to give the online students the choice to give me any feedback about it. Instructors of the class, good, bad, and whatever you can. And again, I don't want to waste too much time. So, advanced group, do you have anything to share about the class? It's been full semester actually. It's been since August we have been doing this, so it's been a long time. And I've done this for 16 years. So, what do you guys want to share? The advanced group. And you can always rate us on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being the best class ever, 1 being the worst class ever as well. And this is how we have been improving actually, is we ask students have been giving feedbacks. And tell you one of the biggest feedback we ever got was in 2013, where they asked this class to be 15, like a full semester instead of only 5 sessions. It used to be only 5 sessions. So imagine that all thing got done in 5 sessions. So let's go. Online students, what do you, advanced group, what do you say? You don't have to be shy and stuff. This is like a college class, so I'm used to this. So if you want to share, go ahead and share. And if there is something we didn't do well, that's more important to me as well, something we can improve on. No, nothing?
I really like the tips with the math tests because there were a lot of things I had forgotten from math I had taken a long time ago, and like some of the concepts that we only touched for a little bit, we hit more in depth in this class.
So Griffin, on a 1 to 10 scale, how much do you rate this class overall? 10 being the best ever.
Probably like an 8.
Okay. Any suggestions for us to improve?
I don't know. No, I don't really know.
Would you recommend this class to your friends? If
I
given,
would. Yeah, I've taken another ACT prep class, and I thought this one was definitely better and more like in depth with the material.
okay, well, good, good to know. I said we had more than 6,000 students in the last 16 years in 23 different states, and um, yep. Okay. Anybody else from the advanced group?
I thought the class was really good overall and like helping me remember stuff from previous years that's been a while.
Ian, what do you rate us, 1 to 10?
I'd give it like an 8. I just feel like maybe since it's been so long for me, maybe a little bit more review on like basic geometry, but also I kind of joined late.
Yeah, and also you were in the advanced group. In the regular group, we actually cover the basic geometry. So that's why I always tell students to start this program in ninth grade. I can't stress this enough. So, and that's why people who have started in 8th and ninth grade have done actually ACT a lot better because they have more time. So, anybody else? Kirsten, Kate, Natalie, Jack, Neelan, any feedback? I don't want to pick on you guys, but would be nice to hear from you at least.
No, this class was pretty good. I'd say an 8 out of 10.
And you can
I went in.
Yeah, you can use any decimals and fractions to rate us as well. So.
I went in person a couple times too.
Yeah.
I felt like in person was a lot better for learning stuff, but I like online too.
Okay. Last call, guys, from online students from advanced group. All right, let's move on to a regular group. Any feedback? And we have a lot more students here, so. Yeah.
Okay, not to repeat this over and over again, but I found this class really helpful. This is my second semester taking it.
Yeah.
I took it last semester, and I have 2 book bags. And yesterday, or a couple days ago, when I was doing my homework, I accidentally pulled out the wrong book bag and opened up my book. And I opened up to one of the tests that I already taken. It was one of the reading tests, and next to it was all blank. And on the top, I put like my score, and I got like a 24. And that was like right towards the beginning when I took a practice test. And then I took a reading test that day, and I scored much higher. And it was written, I had stuff written in, like I had used it, and I just felt a lot more confident than like a year ago. And so I feel that this class has been helpful in strategies for taking the test, but also helpful in a way that like when I get there, I'm not super worried. I know everything I need to know, and I have like a good way to do studying the day before.
And I cannot stress that enough, Aiden. I wish I don't know if others heard you or not. This is the reason why we wanted you to start early. It's like, and why we have 2 levels, regular and advanced, is basically, like Ian mentioned, you cover the basics in regular, right? So many of those students actually repeat regular, like Aiden, you're doing that, and then take the advanced. You're covering all your bases, and then even if you go up by 2 points in ACT, you're looking at a 20 grand increase in scholarships. So if you know any of your friends, tell them this, that it's all about starting early so that you can get done early, so that you don't have to panic when you're in a senior year, right? So, good. Any other comments, regular students?
I really thought that the English teacher really helped me like understand like the grammar a little bit more, especially coming from like in the past my like grammar tests and stuff have not been very high, and now I feel like I have a better understanding for more grammar and stuff.
Yeah, Rikav has done a fantastic job for us. Last year, actually, that's 2023, we had 18 students get a perfect 36 in English. And I think I owe that success to him and his strategies. And he is the most sought out tutor for us. And my son is here, and he took Rikav's one-on-one classes, I don't know, for a long time. So, yeah, good. I'll pass on the message to him. Hayden, on a 1 to 10 scale, how do you rate us?
8.5.
Okay. Hayden, yours?
It's hard for me to put something like this on a scale, so
Okay. All
I
right.
would say above a 7.
Above a 7. Okay. Anybody else online? Yeah, Morgan, go ahead.
I thought this class like helped me a lot because even in English, there are things that I've literally never learned before, and I'm a senior in high school, so I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy, and it helped me a lot. With just, I'm a slow test taker, so all the tricks and to guide around everything has helped me like incredibly.
So, Morgan, I know you and your family well, so I want to ask you. I want to have this recorded so that people, you know, if we could go back in time, would you have started this early?
Yeah, 100%. Yes. I wish I did.
Yeah. So that's what we tell parents, and a lot of parents, that if you can even start in 10th grade, it's gonna make your life so many times better. And the main thing is you're not stressed, and then you don't have to settle down for a lower score. You have time. So, as I said, I just can't stress enough. So pass on that information so that others basically have the advantage as well. So
Yeah.
anybody else online? Again, I don't want to waste too much time, guys. So
So I know that there's an optional part in the test. There's like a writing prompt, so
that's what we're gonna do today.
help to learn that.
Yeah,
so,
that's what we're gonna do today.
Oh, okay.
Anybody else? Do you have anything?
I think I want to say I had a chance to take it last year,
Mm-hmm.
like the first semester 2023, and I didn't. I think I should have. I definitely should have.
Yeah. So you had a chance to start early. So again, and it's again, 6,000 students is a huge number, right? And you can see, I've heard it all. Nothing surprises us. Like even in feedback, when I get this, we don't take this lightly. Again, even after 6,000 students, I'm like, okay, no, I try to understand. I can try to read between the lines. I'm a college president. I've told you guys, I hear this every single day. What I try to do is basically, what can we do better? And even in college, I ask my employees the same question. What can we do better? It's not a perfect system, right? But what you guys share with us is significant. So next year, as ACT is going to go online, completely digital, like SAT is going to be, I think after next April, by the way, we are already started to prepare for next fall semester, how we're going to change. But one thing that will never change is to start early. If you don't start early, you will panic and you will settle down for a lower score. I remember, I want to share some data for you guys. So far, we had 5 students with a perfect 36 at New Horizon out of 6,000. We had 45 students get 35 ACT scores. 45 students have a 35. Out of the 45 students, 9 were freshmen, and 136 was a freshman. So we had 10 students who get a 35 and a higher in 9th grade. And they were done. They were literally done with ACT. And one kid wanted to just mess around and apply to a college, and he got a call from the college and say, if you graduate, when you graduate, we would like to make a commitment for scholarship right now, but you have to tell that you are going to join us, full ride. And he accepted it. So in 9th grade, he knew exactly which college, full ride, and everything.
Do you know what college you went to?
I can't say, because the rules have changed. The only thing, he would have been in trouble. He had to maintain a 3.5 GPA, and he started messing around, and he got a 3.52. So he barely made it, but he had a 35 in 9th grade. He just really messed it up, of course. He should not have done that, but he went to a really good school. And he's doing well now, smart kids, but yeah. Anybody else? Any other comments? So what I'm going to do is now, everyone needs to unmute and give a 1 to 10 rating, okay? If you already shared, great. You don't have to repeat. Otherwise, everybody needs to give a number, okay? Okay, go.
8.7.
9.
You already said about 7. 9. Okay, let's go with online students. Anybody can go any direction.
9.
9,
8.
10.
8.
8.4, 8.5, 8.7. Okay, 10. Okay, keep it going.
9.5.
9.5. Yeah. I worry when we are below 6. I know that something is not going well. That means we had one time a student gave us a 2 rating. And I still today, it's been bothering me. It's been almost 10 years. I just wish I knew which student it was because
They were probably pretty salty about something.
yes, they're always salty about something. I just wanted to know if that student showed up for the class. Because that semester we had a lot of students miss the class. And we didn't have the recording. So, anyways, so December 14th is a test. December 24th, you're going to get the results. Just for the Christmas, okay? First thing first, I'm always available by WhatsApp text message, okay? If you're an 11th grader, 10th grader, 9th grader, and so forth, don't go into the test saying that this is your last chance or last attempt. Keep an open mind. You need to prepare like this is your last, but you gotta have an open mind. 12th graders, you have to understand that putting unnecessary pressure on yourself doesn't help you, okay? Prepare for the next 12, 13 days. Just keep it calm. The best you can do is to prep, okay? Second, you need to be ready with everything. Admission ticket with the photo and ID, government issued ID, snacks or whatever. I'm going to send you a list today. Everything needs to be ready. Preparation is the most important thing. And I cannot stress enough on that one. All my successful students have one thing in common. They all have been systematic in their preparation, including the day before. If you're registered for the December 7th review, you should all have the materials by this time. Your parents should have it, I mean. So there should not be any surprises. And if you're registered and you did not get it, time to talk to me right away. Okay. And you have to be, if you're coming to the center, you have to be here by latest 12:30. If you're going to be online, you have to be online by 12:30. I'll be sending the links to you guys, to the parents, and they will share it. Okay. Any questions, thoughts, comments you want to share? Anything you want to ask me specifically about ACT, college admissions, SATs, anything you want to ask? Yes.
Do you think when I get the scores, should I I know there's a thing on my ACT where I can send them to colleges?
Yeah, you what you do is if you have the app downloaded, you take a screenshot, okay? And then text me. Boom. And that's, people type in the scores. I want to know everything. So text me, screenshot it. And send it right away. I'll be in India. We're all going to India on December 18th for vacation. So I'll be in India, but of course, I'll be impatiently waiting for all of your scores. And I'll tell you one more thing, which is pretty disheartening to me. People share when they have a good score. People back off not sharing when they don't have a good score. And that's not the sign of a good teacher. A good teacher, I want to know everything. And I've seen this for a long periods of time. You know, I'm here for you guys, whether you do well or not. Well, I hope you'll do well, but if you're not, I'm here for you guys. So I want you to know, sharing when it's only good is not a good indication. Success is not always one snapshot. I have a student who raised their hands.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we have to bring our government issued ID in all? Is that required for all states?
Yes.
Or okay. Thank you.
Yeah, if you don't have a driver's license, take a passport. No. So my son took it in 8th grade last year, and we sent a passport with him. He didn't have an ID. Don't take any chance. Don't take absolutely any chance. You have to be at the testing center by 7:30. Absolutely don't take chance. You have to have the intent for this. That's all I can tell you. If you have the intent, you will do well. Any other thoughts, questions? I have 4 more minutes. That's all I planned till 4:25. Then I'm going to start the ACT writing. Of course, you can always text me after this class and stuff like that. Comments? Questions? All right. So in October, the highest was 35. Okay. And I know October was a little harder than I expected, especially reading and math. We'll see what happens this time. We'll see. Sounds good? You don't go into testing center thinking what's going to happen. You have no control on that. The only thing you can control is what you can prep. Sounds good? Things beyond you, don't worry about it. People say like, oh my God, it's snowing, It's like, yeah, you have no control on it. Just forget it. What you can do is to adapt to it. If you have a question, you can adapt to that one. That's all you can do. By the way, you guys are my students, okay? I have students who have done their PhDs, postdocs, they're doctors, engineers. They're still in contact with me. One designed the Starliner that went to the space. She's from Sioux City, from East High. We just had a meeting with her 2 weeks back. So we have successful students all over US, and some are now abroad as well. They're still in touch with me. So again, just because you don't do well doesn't mean that you should back off from contacting. Actually, that's the time I need to be there for you guys. Sounds good? So I remember one of the students was disqualified for cheating, and they were very confident they didn't cheat. And I know that student, she would not have cheated, but ACT disclosed that, said that she cheated. She was removed. She didn't get the score, and I invited their parents and the student to my home, and we spent good evening and talked about what can we do. So just because you don't send me the scores, trust me, after 6,000 students, I've seen it all, that nothing surprises me. Your job is to be, okay, sharing everything you can. If you don't get the score you wanted, it's okay, you're gonna keep trying. But preparation is key. Sounds good? All right. We're going to start with ACT writing. Go and get your notebooks, please. Just a notebook to write notes. Do a hand raise or thumbs up if you're taking the ACT writing this December. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, online 5. Okay. All right. If you're taking for the future as well, you may not be taking the December test, but if you're taking for the future or for the school as well, this is going to help you a lot. Okay? All right. First, I don't want you to write anything. I'm going to give you guys good enough time to write, actually, so you can focus on this. So today we're going to start with ACT writing, which is the last portion of the test. You have to pay extra fees for this. So you have to register, and you'll be in a different room where all students are taking the writing portion, okay? It used to be 30 minutes. Now it is 40 minutes. So you finish English, math, break, reading, science, then you get a 5 minutes break to get to the science, okay? 40 minutes, you get one prompt. You get one prompt. So imagine this. So this is your test booklet. When you get to the writing portion, this is what you're going to see. A prompt at the top, followed by boxes. and then you'll have lines. So imagine this, okay? So you should be prepared for everything. Nothing should be surprising. So when you go to the ACT writing and your time starts, take the 40 minutes and break it into 3 sections, 10, 20, 10. We're gonna focus on the first 10 here. The first 10 minutes is you read the prompt. You read the prompt 3 times. My simple logic is if you don't know the prompt, your essay will be horrible. If you got to know your prompt well. This is a new change in our strategy, by the way. First time we're teaching this. When you read the prompt, you have to underline 1 to 3 key words. This is actually a recommendation from a student that helped. So we made some changes after studying with that student. 1 or 3 keywords. Those keywords are gonna change the prompt itself. That's how you have to underline. Those are the most crucial words. Okay? This portion is called non-gradable section. This is plain. There's no lines here. So whatever you write here is not going to be graded. One of our students got confused and flipped it. He wrote here and he got a 2. 2 is the lowest score. So the ACT writing score is from 2 to 12. And for college, you need 8. 8 or greater. This is called CRI, College Readiness Index. And how it is graded is very important for you to know. They use what's called a rubric system. And it's graded by 2 ACT readers. Each reader grades from a 1 to 6 scale. So when they grade it, they're going to read your essay and grade it by a rubric system on a 1 to 6 scale. Let's say this guy gives you a 3. Let's say this guy gives you a 4. 3 plus 4 is 7. That's how you're going to get your score. But let's say this guy gives you a 2, and let's say this guy gives you a 5, which is more than 2-point difference. Then it goes to a third reader who's going to decide the entire score. Let me repeat this. Your score for college is 8 and higher. New Horizon never had a 12. We had only 2 get 11. We had a lot of people who get 10s and 9s and so forth. It is very hard to get a perfect score because it is abstract. It's like it's graded by 2 readers. There's no perfect math here. But 11 is a really, really good score. 2 ACT readers grade your essay on a 1 to 6 scale. Those 2 points get added, and that's your final value. You will get your scores of ACT reading 2 to 8 weeks after the test. So it's not going to be right like when you get it on December 24th. You don't get it on December 24th. After that. But if these 2 readers have more than a 2-point difference, then it goes to a third reader who's going to decide the entire 2 to 12 score, called the arbitration. Sounds good? So, going back to the first 10 minutes here. You read the prompt 3 times, making sure, this is important guys, you don't see these 3 boxes. Don't read these 3 boxes. These are called perspective boxes. So let me repeat what I'm saying here, and I want you to be very clear on this. Do not read perspective boxes. Sounds good? So, some of my students have done like, they just put it something like this so that they don't even read. Because on the top it says 1, 2, 3, 3 boxes. So you read the prompt and use this section to brainstorm ideas. Maybe come up with some examples. Do analysis. That's what you're going to do in this section. You can write keywords, ideas, examples, and stuff like that. And it's going to take you 10 minutes to do that. That's plenty of time. Sounds good? Then, so this section I would call it as ideas and analysis. Go ahead and write down this first. As you write down, see if you have any questions.
Why don't we read the perspective boxes?
I'll get to that in next few minutes.
How much can the writing like boost your score?
So writing is a standalone score.
Okay.
It does not impact your composite 36 score.
Okay.
Composite out of 36.
Mm.
So it's a standalone score. So you can imagine your scorecard, you'll have English, math, reading, science, and you get a composite score. then you have a standalone ACT writing scores. Now, let me explain why people should take ACT writing. Some colleges don't need it. But what happens is if you have a good writing score, like 8 and higher, they will see that you can be placed directly in a higher level course in college right away. Otherwise, they will have to give you, they're not sure whether you can write or not, right? So at our college, we have a test called AccuPlacer. Anybody who doesn't have this, we make them take an AccuPlacer test to see where they are at, which is just like ACT, which is done by University of Iowa, just like ACTs. So might as well get it done now than to be in a college freshman first week to find out where you're going to be. Okay? So it's whether it's required or not for a school, get the writing on your so that you can at least showcase to the school, hey, you know what? I have the school score what you want, so place me in the highest possible course. Make sense? Okay. So continuing with this one. So in the first 10 minutes, you brainstorm ideas and analysis. Looking for the fact that you have not read this perspective boxes. Somebody asked me, why don't we read the perspective boxes? And here's a very important reason. When you read the prompt, so for example, this is a prompt that was asked a few years back. Should middle school students be allowed to use social media? Was the question. Of course, if I was writing, I'm going to say no, they should not be using social media. Right? And then I'm going to create my own ideas. Oh, well, it'll have attention span. They'll have cyberbullying and all those things. I can come up with. I'm going to brainstorm those ideas. Okay. Now, as my conclusion is, social media is not good for middle school students, which is what I have analyzed. Then I'm going to read these 3 perspective boxes after researching or doing brainstorming. Okay, after. And you hope that your brainstorming ideas is going to match with 1, 2, or 3. If you don't, you're in big trouble. Because now you're going to be forced to think out of the box. Now, people have asked me this question, why can't we read this to begin with? Well, if you read these 3, then your brainstorming ideas will be limited because you already have only 3 options to think about. So the goal is your brainstorming ideas and analysis should fall into one of these buckets. Sounds good? Make a comment here. Do not read the perspective boxes till brainstorming is completed. Okay. So let's say the first 10 minutes, you've gone through the review, you have some ideas, what examples you want to use. Now, let's say you yourself had that issue when you were a middle school student. You had to, let's say you use the social media and you did not like it. So if you have your own experience based on the prompt itself, you can write it as your example, or as a third party. So if you have experience related to the prompt, then you should write your own story. Okay? If it's nothing to do with it, don't make it up. Just write it as a third party. Sounds good? So for example, let's say when you're a middle school student, you never had to worry about social media. Okay? So you have never experienced what a middle school student would have done. Then I would just write it as third party. Sounds good? That's what I would have done in this case, my case, because I have no idea at the time. So that has to be decided in the first 10 minutes as well. Whether it's going to be you as an example, your own story, or as a third party. your story will have a lot more meaningful than a third party would be. Okay. Next. Once you decide what perspective to use, which you have to disclose clearly, disclose perspective number. So what I tell students is to write first, right here at the top, what is your perspective, which one you're going to write it for, 1, 2, or 3. If you don't, you're going to lose points in the rubric system. Sounds good? So I'm going to repeat this. If you decide to go with 2, you should write right at the top, perspective number 2. So it is very clear to the reader. Remember, they don't have much time. They have to read hundreds and thousands of essays. So they won't have time. Make it explicit. Make it very clear. Sounds good? Next, you have to have decent handwriting. If we cannot read what you wrote, they cannot grade what you wrote. Right? Of course, things will change later next year onwards, but right now you gotta have decent handwriting. So simple rule of thumb is, if a stranger cannot read yours, the AC reader cannot read your handwriting as well. Make sense? Next, your design of your response should flow like this. Should be a 5-paragraph response. Up to 1 to 2 pages response with a 5 paragraphs response. The first one will be an introduction, and the last one is a conclusion. Very important, one paragraph to another paragraph must flow well. Flow is extremely important. Flow is extremely important. That means one paragraph should connect to the second paragraph well. Most importantly, do not BS. Do not BS in the middle. Don't write some bullshit stuff, okay? Anything less than half page, you'll definitely have a score lower than a 6. You are expected between 1 to 2 pages, decent handwriting, decent gap and everything, 1 to 2 pages. But anything less than half page, I think you'll not get even a 6. I can tell you right now. Sounds good? Flow is extremely important. Organization is very important. Organization, grammar, punctuations, organizations, grammar, punctuations. So when you're writing, you have to remember these things. It has to flow well. It has to have good grammar. It has to have correct English punctuations. The most important thing is you got to make sure the readers read your essay. So write down the important point, make them read your essay. That means it's not boring. So you can use emotions, you can use humor. You're allowed to do that. So make them read your essay, and they will only read if the flow is important. I know New Horizon, I do this for my living. Is we do college admissions, right? We help with essay reviews and stuff like that. So we have one of our employees do the grammar and everything. She's an expert in that. I don't worry about grammar. I worry about this. Is it flowing well? Am I feeling like reading this? Or is it like, oh my goodness, this is crap? Sounds good? Make them read. Make them read the essay. And I've seen some really good essays, I'm telling you, where I'm like, man, I want to know what's happening next. It's intriguing. It's intriguing. Because they have put the ideas together. And they have good grammar. Next. You do not have to use fancy words. Do not use fancy words by force. Like, you're not required to force yourself to use fancy words. If you know it and if it fits well, great. You're going to get some points for that. But you're not obliged to forcefully write some words which you have learned somewhere but doesn't fit well. You see what I'm saying? Next. Practice at least one prompt before the test. Practice at least one prompt. All right. I want full attention on this. In the 20 minutes you're writing, flow, everything is well. One of the requirement under the rubric system is, so let's say you used perspective number 2 here, right? Let's say, I'm gonna write this here, perspective 2. When you're writing here, you must refer another perspective. So let me tell you what I mean by this. This is important. You have no choice. You have to do this. So let's say, go back to the social media prompt, and I'm saying social media should not be used for middle school students, right? I'm writing my case examples, cyberbullying, focus, a lack of, focus, attention issues, right? All these things. While writing your essay, preferably in the second, third, and fourth paragraph, you must refer another perspective. So let's say I'm going to, in the perspective number 1 was, let's say, yes, so middle school students should be allowed social media. Okay? So how would I use that example here? I would make somebody comment here. Although I understand there are several advantages of using social media by middle school students, okay, I'm giving a positive spin to that. So when you refer the another perspective, do not degrade it. Do not condemn it. You with me in this? You make a point. Okay, I understand. For some it's going to be good, right? But do not say, oh my God, this for perspective number is pathetic. It's so, it's not correct and stuff like that. Sounds good? Must refer another perspective in a positive way. Very briefly, yes.
After you reference it in a positive way, can you then point out what's wrong with it?
And little bit.
Just a little bit.
I would say, for example, I would say for the social media one, though, I understand that there are several advantages of using social media, you can communicate with relatives across the world and all these things. I still believe it has more disadvantages, and disadvantages outweigh the advantages.
So don't pick it apart, just make a choice.
Yeah, don't rip it apart and say how the hell you can imagine using social media. So don't go to the extremes. Be polite. Be polite, but stick to your guns and go back to that. Go back to your number 2 again. This should not be like more than 2 or 3 lines max. But it's a requirement under the rubric system that you have this done and you refer one more. Yeah.
Would it be? Could you do something like a comparing thing, like comparing the perspectives as a reference to it?
Yeah, you can do one comparison. Don't go in deep. If you want to do a comparison study of your perspective with something else, you sure can, but don't go into too much details. Because your job is to talk about your own perspective, not the other one. But when you refer this another perspective, put the number, which number you're referring to. Okay? Must refer another perspective with a number. You have to make it very clear. Some people even box it so that the reader can actually, it just pops, so it can be very readable. And this 20 minutes is enough to do all these things. So brainstorming ideas, you should know what I'm going to write, what are my major examples, and when you're writing, you're going to have the flow. Make sense? Now, let's go to the last 10, which is, you got to time yourself, by the way. Okay? You got to time yourself so that you're staying on top of it. 1 or 2 minutes here, and 40 minutes is more than sufficient. Okay? So, I want you to write down what you're going to do for the last 10 minutes. First, okay? Read what you wrote. Okay? Write down. Read what you wrote. If you cannot read your own essay, you shouldn't expect anybody else to read your own essay. Read what you wrote. Look for grammar and spelling errors. Look for grammar and spelling errors. If there is any that's a big turn off for readers is spelling. Spelling errors is gonna kill you guys. And that's why you want to avoid those fancy words sometimes, because you may not be able to spell it correctly. So, read what you wrote. While you're reading, you're looking for any grammar and spelling errors. Third, ask yourself if the flow is good. Ask yourself if the flow is good. Use pencils only and erase properly. Looks very simple logic here, but boy, I can tell you, reader who has been reading thousands of essays, and if they can't, this is like, I've talked to those guys, they get really mad. Like, they have erased it, but it doesn't look like it's erased. You see what I'm saying? So, and I want to, before I forget this, when you write the paragraphs like this, it should be very clear where it stops and where it starts again. You with me on this? Even if you want to give a line break, they know exactly where the demarcation has happened. That means you're building structure to it. That means your organization thoughts are very good. Sounds good? I've seen some of the really good essays where in the first page here, 1, second page, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, it's very clear. And of course, you don't want to leave too much space, okay? But enough to notice there is a difference between first paragraph to second to third, okay? So, when you're reading the last 10 minutes, read, look for errors. Spelling and grammar errors are the biggest we have seen. Look for the flow. Erase properly. Now, introduction and conclusions are extremely important. Introduction and conclusions are extremely important. Of course, going back to that middle cannot, just because first and start are important, don't BS in the middle, okay? That's what I meant. But it's extremely important to conclude nicely. If I read the introduction, they should know what you're thinking. If I read the conclusion, they should know what you're trying to conclude. Just the entire essay should be able to be quickly reviewed. I know somebody asked about perspective box. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Good. Any questions? Any thoughts?
If you take the first 10 minutes to prepare and you do your brainstorming and stuff, and then your brainstorming doesn't line up with the three perspectives, should you leave a little bit of time in the 10 minutes in case that does happen? Or
It's so funny. That was my last topic of discussion, and I don't know if I can even show this. One of my, I don't know. Can you read this, Morgan, for me?
Complex prompt use perspective boxes help.
Okay. So, great question, Griffin. So, I've seen maybe once where you do the brainstorming sessions and the examples and analysis, and then you look at the perspective. Very rarely you'll see one of those will be usually it will be matching, okay? But very rarely it does not match. Those are called complex prompts. Write on this, please. There is a rule of exceptions. It's called rule of exception. Complex prompt use perspective boxes directly. Complex prompts use perspective boxes directly. Let me give you an example of that. So there was a question on global warming and how it impacts economy. And you guys as high school students may not know all these things, right? So, and actually that was the first time we had actually talked about rule of exception, and almost all of my students used that rule. They directly went to the perspective. But you will read the prompt 3 times and you will know exactly whether you'll have your own ideas. I'll be very shocked that your brainstorming ideas is not matching with one of the 3. And what Griffin was asking is, should I leave a little bit more time? Yeah, I don't mind doing this at the 7th or the 8th minute, but anything below that, that should be okay. But very rarely it has happened where the prompt is so complex that you'll have actually no idea. So the question was, how does the global warming affect the US GDP? And many people didn't even know what GDP stood for. So then at the time, and of course that year we got very low scores as well because the prompt itself was very tough. But now I've seen, again, after 16 years, maybe twice I've seen something very complex. But usually things are much straightforward. Much straightforward. Great question, Griffin. Anything else? Yes.
So in my school, we would have examples of how we would do things separate in 3 body paragraphs. How would you frame it if you're doing
Like what do you mean?
Would you have to come up with your own sort of body paragraph topics, or would you use the perspective 2? Would that be your body paragraph topic?
That's what I would do. That's how you lead ideas. You've done the brainstorming, right? And now it's matching, let's say 80-90% with perspective 2 or 100% with perspective. That has given you enough lead to lead this second, third, and fourth paragraphs. Introduction should be purely yours, okay? Should be purely your flow to that one. Why did you pick perspective 2? Okay, what are your reasons? And then give examples. 2, 3, and 4 is all about examples. Like for example, cyberbullying, and I'll talk a little bit about cyberbullying for social media. One of the things we have seen with social media is people use cell phone, right? They're sneaking their cell phone in the classrooms, and that becomes a habit, and how it impacts family life. So you can take 2, 3 solid examples and drill down. These are the reasons why I'm supporting my perspective. Without good examples, it's very hard to grade yours and see why should we give a better. Yeah, your grammar may be good, so you'll get some points on that one. Your construction would be good, your organization would be good, but if you cannot support your rationale with some good examples, it's hard to fathom that. Make sense? Good question. You guys are asking good questions. Anything else? All right, let me talk about what students make mistakes. Okay, this is important, right? This is all here. This is an ideal case. What students do first, this one, they don't practice even one. They have no idea. So what I always tell is practice at least one prompt, the whole 40 minutes thing, but the remaining 2 prompts, at least do the brainstormings and see if your perspectives are matching. Right? That's when you know out of the 3, if you've done all 3, you know that it's working out for you guys. So I repeat, students don't do this. And most importantly, if you don't have the exposure of how the prompt looks like in the perspective box, you'll be in for a surprise. And Griffin, that's where you're going to take more than 10 minutes. That's the first mistake. Second mistake, which is common sense, but I cannot stress this enough. Handwriting. I just can't emphasize enough, okay? And I've seen it all, basically. Like, third, one paragraph to second to third, that demarcation is not clear. Where it ends, where it starts, that's not clear. Fourth, spelling. And fifth one is grammar. These things you take care, getting an 8 is almost sure shot. Make sense? And you have basically 12 days to do that. So I don't see any reason why you can't. But 2 pages, keep it 2. Don't go, I've seen students write 5 pages of complete bullshit. Okay, so don't waste your time on that one. All right, anything else you guys want to ask? Any other questions on this? Yes.
Do we need to include like a title? Like if we do like perspective 1 on like climate change or something like that?
Perspective, when you write the perspective number 2, you don't have to disclose the title.
Okay.
I never had that question before. Yeah, you don't have to have any title. Yeah, nobody has asked that question before. Interesting. Yeah, trust me, that's why it's very important for you to ask questions, because it leads to other things. Anything else you can think of? Let me make sure I've covered all this. I think so. Any other questions? All right. Does anybody want to take a lead in concluding the semester and with a good solid note for us? a good motivations talk. Well, I just want to say it's been a pleasure for all of us to teach. As I said, first semester when I taught this, 2008, never I had only what, 3 students at the time? First time we did the class, and fast forward to 16 years, I can't imagine we, on an average, hit 50 students in a class. Every semester we do 50 to 60 students, plus other groups we do as well. One thing has not changed, what we teach has been pretty consistent and with same intensity from the day one. So I know this is holiday season, semester exams, ACTs are coming up. This is how high school life is, and this is how it's supposed to be. If you want to do well in college, you better be prepared for high school. Do well in high school. As I said, as a college president, it amazes me how less prepared our kids are right now. It just absolutely shocks me. On a 1 to 10 scale, if I want even 8, I see kids are at 3 or 4. So when students meet with me like this, they don't realize that I also lead a college, and when I tell this, I was like, no, it's pretty scary out. So you're my student, so you better not fail, because it's pretty bad right now. It's pretty bad. Remember, ACT is the national average for ACT is now 19.5. This is the lowest ACT average in the history of ACT testing. When I came to the United States 25 years back, the average was 24. So it has gone down by 4.5 points net drop in the ACT. I still can't believe that. So I started this company to actually fix it. So we have fixed it for this area to my students. As I said, we have done extremely well, but you got to do your share. You got to do your part. I wish you guys Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Be good, be nice. Most importantly, work hard. Success is yours, failure is yours. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye. Take care, guys.
Thank you.